All right, lovely people. Welcome to the Alumni Career Day. Super happy to be here. My name is Juan Maldonado. I'm a relationship manager at Energy and also an alumnus from this university, MBA 17. I also work here in the alumni relations team with these fantastic people that put everything together today for you. And yeah, I really want this session to be special for all of us. I think no one comes to these sessions because they think they don't need to change something, right? So we really want to understand what is it that you are trying to change. Like we're going to be a little bit talking about, fears, things that you might have to address in order to pivot your career. All of these fantastic people have already done different kinds of career pivots. We have people that have done lateral moves within the same company. We have people that changed their careers 180 degrees to different kind of industries and seniority roles and everything. So yeah, I think one of the things that we need to understand and why we need a lot of your collaboration in this session is because we need to understand that no one comes to these kinds of events if they don't want something to change, right? So maybe there are some actions that we need to be taking or some things that you guys need to say either at your current work or to facilitate the search for a new role. And I think besides having this amazing Q&A with all of us, first of all, I would like to hear from a couple of you to tell a little bit, why are you here? What are you hoping to get out of the panel? What are some things that make you uncomfortable about this whole change that you're planning? And what are some things you would like some help with? So where do we start? Any takers?
Probably. So what I'm interested in, so I'm Dennis from the Cologne Rotterdam program and graduated last year. I'm a product manager in a chemical company. Yeah, as you can imagine, I would like to change. What I'm mostly interested in is how to overcome that uncertainty. Yeah, because if you stay with what you know what to expect. Everything you do outside of that comfort zone is uncertain. How cope with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is something that we're going to touch definitely in the slides. One of the other things, right? If there's something that you want to change at your current work, you kind of have to have some power. And how do we empower ourselves to do that, right? Like if you have nothing to negotiate with, then when you don't want to do something or you want to change something, you will have no power to leverage that, right? So after we are having this Q&A session, we're also going to share this checklist of how do we empower ourselves to prepare for this move. Because I think in the stories of all of these fantastic people, one of the things you're going to notice is that they first had to embody the person that they wanted to become before they could become the person that they had the goal of becoming, right? So one more volunteer that would like to share their fears, things that they would like some help with.
I'm Sina. I'm a manager at McKinsey in Amsterdam, and I've been with the firm for 6 years now. And I'm thinking if I should move into industry, which would be consumer or retail, or do something completely different, which would be managing a hotel, which I dreamed of when I was a child, and now could be the time to do it.
That's absolutely cool. I think we have some good examples here today, so definitely it's going to be helpful. Someone else? I would like to have also a lot of these opinions because I really want to make the session as useful as possible for you guys. Maxime, I see you, man.
So I'm Maxime from batch 19. So I'm now a consultant in University consultant. So I would like to know more about people's opinion around their career because it's a pivot your career, not pivot your job. So it's interesting to know, okay, how to accommodate the daily job with your life goal and your personal goal.
I think you can help a lot with that, right? And anything. No, absolutely. Thank you, Maxime.
I'm also curious to if there are some experience with working abroad, because at this point I have a job I really like and I make challenges. But my boyfriend lives in London, so we're a little bit in doubt whether I should move to London or maybe move to Rotterdam. And a lot of things to good timing to consider. So that was actually my question. But I'm mostly interested in points to consider and experiences. Yeah.
Great. Well, let's get started then. The only thing that I can share from the beginning is like everything takes time. So there's no magic bullet to change your career. It's not going to happen from one day to the next. But we have some really good speakers today. So I would like to introduce first Diego Rondon, MBA 18.
Hi, everyone.
Please make a nice introduction of yourself.
That's not gonna do it for me.
He has a really cool story. He changed from Oracle to video games. When I met Diego, he always dreamed about working in the video game industry, and now I'm very proud of him because he actually did it.
He did it, Tom. Hey, I'm Diego. I'm from MBA 18. It's crazy that it has been so long. So as the presentation says, I am Director of Market Analysis and Consulting at Newzoo. That's a data and insights and analytics company for the games industry. What can I say? Pivoting for me was not extremely quick. Joining games is an easy pivot. And if you're interested to hear how having a good mentor or good advice helped, I can provide some examples because I use that quite a lot actually. And to your point, I remember your name, Maxime, you mentioned how do you do that within your role? I did that in 2 roles at Oracle to switch to my current role. I can speak a little bit more to that. It's a pleasure being here.
Our second amazing person today, Annerieke.
Annerieke Nijenhuis. I work at PwC for 10 years now. I've been always been in our deals practice, restructuring corporates. That was pretty cool, but my life changed, and with that, not really the ambition, because that was something that I really had to turn around in my head. But the flexibility that I was willing to give was less. I had have 2 small kids, and so I shopped around within the same company and changed career because it's like a totally different outlook I have now than what I had when I was in our deals practice. But very happy with the switch. So I can really.
Beautiful. Bastian.
Good afternoon. My name is Bastian. I graduated 14 years ago, I think. And my dream, I did a master's degree, so global business and stakeholder management, but I had a lot of focus on sustainability and reputation management. And I remember back then, we had a very cool class with a lot of like green-minded people. A lot of them end up at sustainability officer positions. And my dream back then was start a sustainable sneaker brand someday. But I started almost working actually at Google in Dublin. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna live in Dublin. And then I felt I needed a little more passion. Just crunching numbers is not it for me. And I started at BMW. I always rode BMW motorcycles, so that was a passion of mine. So I started working at BMW, which is consumer durables. The head office is close to Rotterdam here in Rijswijk. It's a big multinational A brand. It's German. So in Munich, all these engineers and doctors think about smart stuff to do. I wanted to be closer to the fire, so I actually wanted to go to Munich, which was always possible back home. But by the time it got more concrete, we had our first baby on the way. And yeah, I would still like to go, but my girlfriend said, nah, I think I'd rather stay here. So that was the first pivot I made. I always wanted to work abroad, and that's why I did international studies. And so for me, I decided to set that idea apart for a while. And I decided to find a new employee where I could be close to the fire. Also, strong brand, Dutch brand, Royal Gazelle. It's a bicycle brand. So yeah, long heritage, quality products, products with a future, sustainable. That's more sustainable than four wheels. Worked there for a couple of years. Till yeah, I think I kind of was done there with my impacts, and then I made a switch to yeah, something really different, more finance, commodity. It's a Dutch company called CCV. I don't think a lot of you know it, but it's actually impacts. If you look at your bank accounts, you search CCV, you probably find something, because there's a lot of retailers, hairdressers, maybe here even on the campus, that you pay with our payment facilitation. So I've been doing that now for 2 years. And that sustainable sneaker dream was a passion that always was there. And in my last job switch, I almost landed a role as a marketing director at a motorcycle apparel company. And when I was walking around there, they had this great head office with leather and apparel. And I was like, oh, cool. I can gain some experience for 2 to 3 years, and then I can make that bit. Well, we didn't end up to an agreement, but I felt the fire that was lit, and I thought there's multiple ways to roam. So just do something with that idea, put some more time into it. And now I'm 2 years further, and this month I'm in that crowdfunding, hoping to launch my first sustainable sneaker collection. So that's pretty cool.
My goal.
Querida Blanca.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Let's see, we have the oldest here, maybe. But 27 years ago, I came to the Netherlands with 27 years. So it's a special year, a special moment to be here. And so that was my first career pivot. I moved from Mexico to the Netherlands, and I stayed in the Netherlands. And it was a double career pivot because I changed from working for Pricewaterhouse to working for a startup. It was a consulting company. And that was the best and the worst decision I had ever taken, because I was a CEO, but the founders and the people with the money were older men than me, and they felt more intelligent than me and more powerful. And I was just this young girl from Mexico, you know? So my CEO title was not very strong. And we ended up really disbanding the whole venture. Even if we made money, we were able to pay salaries for a couple of years, and we did some good things in consulting. So we closed the company, and I didn't know what I wanted. I had money in the bank, and but what do I want? Do I want to be in the Netherlands? Do I want to go back to Mexico? What do I do with my life? And then I said, well, the first thing that I need to do is to get a job. And I just got what you do, any job. I got any job that was a job in the European Space Agency. And they that's any job. And apparently I was good at the things that they promoted me, and I hated it, and I hated it. I got in the leads. I have a creative side of me. I love public speaking. I love writing, and that world was about mathematics and calculations and very bureaucratic. Just 15 bureaucracies there. I was coming from entrepreneurship, and that was highly bureaucratic. So I was just going crazy there, and I figured, well, they pay me well. They treat me well, and I don't know what to do with my life. Why don't I take time here to see what I want? And that's what I did. So I started doing a lot of personal development by myself. So I did my work and produced very well. I was honest, but in my afternoons and my holidays, I went to study coaching. I went to a spiritual retreat, silent retreat. I just invested in my own personal development. And at some point I said, well, I really want to leave. This is not what I want. I want to paint. I want to do public speaking, write books, help other people in personal development. And I think it's 15, 17 years ago, I quit, and that's what I became. So I'm my own brand. I have my website, my YouTube channel, my books, and I coach people, I do courses, and I do it in my own time. So if my children when they were in elementary school, they did not bother, they were fine at school. So I put a lot of effort in my business. I made it really big. Now my children are getting high school, so they want more mama, so I And the cool thing about this way of working is that I can decide how big I want it, how small I want it, how much I want to be involved in it. And I'm very interested in passive income in a way that I want to work less, earn more money. And I'm 54 years old, so very soon I'll be 60, 70. I want that passive income to keep growing. So, and my absolute focus is passive income, and I'm just going to continue in passive income. My idea is not to be on a beach, but, play and exercise and be healthy. Exercise, that's very important to me. So it's more important than the money, with that I can move. That's the other thing, but because of my age, I have been to quite some funerals. So for me, it's very important values, how you live, and how happiness, basically.
Thomas.
Thank you. Thomas, Belgium, graduated 2002 already. Started at PricewaterhouseCoopers, worked as a financial analyst, did my first pivot during the MBA here in 2007-8. I switched to Boston Consulting Group. I liked it and didn't like it. 2 years later, I made my second pivot. I became an entrepreneur, or thought that I was going to become one. I took over a plumbing company, something completely different. I grew the business from 6 people to 40. Got some loans to make it work in terms of cash flow. 2018, third pivot. Long story, the company went bankrupt. I signed liable for the loans, everything, literally. So my third pivot was freelance consulting, back to where I came from. Did my first project for Nike, for McKinsey Benelux. I worked for a recruiting firm. I now work for a technical consulting firm, and I'm looking to, in 5 years, to have a similar story to yours, going back to entrepreneurship, dealing with uncertainty. I can tell a lot of stories. Switching to a hotel, I would definitely do. With one thing is what I've learned is you can pivot and you can change. Just make sure you cover your risk. That's the only thing you need to cover. I didn't do that. Then you have consequences, but the uncertainty is always there. And the sky is the limit. Just cover the risk. That's my story.
Absolutely. And well, last but not least, I'm Juan. I was Alumni Relations Manager here in RSM for 5 years. And the weirdest thing is that I never thought that I would be doing Alumni Relations. I was doing PR for PlayStation before coming here to the Netherlands for my MBA in 2016. And since I was a young kid in middle school, I said, like, I'm gonna live in Europe one day. That was my lifelong dream. I saved, I think, for 8 years to be able to afford my stay here in the MBA for 1 year. And I remember that year in November 7, exactly, I ran out of money. I had 7 euros in my bank account. I had just paid the last rent that I could possibly pay. And I went to the bank because in the Netherlands, you have this savings / current account or something like that. I had 2 euros in my savings account and 5 euros in my current account. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get these last 7 euros, and then I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do. And I went to I remember I was in Aldi with this 10 euros a week diet that I had for myself back in the day. And for some reason or the other, they passed the card, declined. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, it's a can of tomatoes, some oatmeal and eggs. I don't have enough in for that for this week. So I went back to the bank, frantically bicycling back to the bank, thinking like what could have gone wrong, maybe a gym membership somewhere or something. But as I was biking back, I was like, all this, like I saved for 8 years to come here, and I'm living the dream right now of being in the MBA, being in the Netherlands. Who the hell cares what's happening after this? I think I'm gonna be taken care of. And funnily enough, that's where I discovered the power of building relationships and networking, because magically out of nowhere, one of the alumnus that I had talked to in the spring, even like before anyone is thinking about jobs, an alumna from the previous batch opened an internship, and I had already taken the time to talk with her 2 or 3 times before that day. And I remember that I liked the internship post and whatever, and she said like, yeah, our salary is 250 euros a month. And I immediately told her, that doesn't work. I know that it's 1 day a week. I can come 5 days a week, 6 days a week. You want me here in Amsterdam, I commute, I do whatever, work full time, but I need this amount of money. Can you talk to your manager? And she talked to her manager. I was there in the internship after graduation, so I could basically pay my way to the rest of the MBA. And that's when I was like, okay, this networking has its power. I think all of us learn it the hard way when we are so focused in school during our MBA year. We're so focused on accounting, so focused on finance, so focused on organizational behavior that we often forget to reach out. And the opportunity came to be here as part of RSM, building the alumni network, when there was very little going on. And we created a fantastic team. 5 years later, Bruno here joined, and in a twist of fate, Bruno was joining was working in a very cool company called Dino Energy, which is an investing firm that is working towards the energy transition in Europe. And a position came up. Bruno liked it in LinkedIn, and there I was, right at the right moment, with the right skills at the right time, and the opportunity came. And this job checks a lot of my things in my list. So I would say that the most important thing for me is that the network. If you build your network, you're outwards looking, and you see how you can help others, they will be back to help you. So I hope that we have a really cool panel today, guys. I want to open the floor to you, because before we go to the career checklist and all of this, I want to open the floor to you, because I think what would be really helpful for all of us is to understand very specific problems that you currently have, a little bit of your trajectory, if you have the skills to your new role. Maybe a lot of us can tell you how mentoring helps, mentoring mentors, attending events, these kinds of things. So if someone would like to start with their story, I think this is something that I would really like, that we get to know each other personally as well, and so that we can also become this network that helps each other afterwards. So anyone that would like to get started, tell about where they are at now and where they want to go.
Yes, I have a question for all of you. Same as someone said before, I also have the dream of working for a nice hotel and matter the highest and everything. I'm a lawyer as a background. I worked 8 years as a lawyer back in Peru, in Spanish, and one day we decided, okay, together with my wife, we always wanted to move abroad, study and work, etc. We chose the Netherlands between all the European countries because we like it. When I did the MBA, I finished it in 2022. I was very encouraged to do this transition from law to hospitality, and I was so wrong because nobody hired me. And I spent months asking for an opportunity, a lot of money taking courses in good universities, Cornell, digital courses, whatever you want. I spent money, I spent time. I
I didn't have the chance. So when the bills came up and I needed to do something, as you, I took the first job they sent me. I ended working as a sales manager in cybersecurity, something that I really hated. Thanks for that, I was able to travel a lot in Europe and do something that I really like, because I like to go inside the lobbies of the hotels and take photos and compare the facilities and everything. So I'm very grateful for that. And now I did the transition to freelance because I just had a baby girl 2 months ago. I was traveling 3 weeks out of 4 every month, and just being 2 here with a newborn, it's almost impossible for my wife for being alone. So I wanted to ask you how you convinced the person in front of you to hire you, because in my experience, I'm talking as the only person here, here in the market, they segregate you with your background. So for the Dutch market, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm a sales guy, I'm nothing more. If I want to do marketing, forget about it. I cannot do it. So if I don't want to go back to law, I need to keep in my way, and I need to be a sales manager. So how do you deal with that transition? How do you convince the owner? Because you can do it with job experience, you can do it with freelance, you can do it with some cases like, yes, I helped this company pro bono to develop my skill, blah, 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 but that takes time. So doing that will take months. And so for someone in hospitality, I was very like, give me feedback. I mean, I did a lot of courses. Why you're not hiring me? They told me, well, you don't have experience in the sector. You need to start again from this. Like, I'm 30 years old and I have a family, you know, I cannot.
I think I have an answer for you.
Yes.
I think there's a big difference between the traditional way of getting a job, because then the first selection is looking at the resume, and that's like, then the scenario is like you sketched. He's a lawyer, he's a salesman, so we check the boxes, McKinsey, private waterhouse, that helps. I think Juan's example is nice if you want to make a pivot where you don't necessarily have the background. So in this case, we have a couple hotel or restaurant ambitions, but I don't think it matters what your ambition is, as long as you guys seem to have a passion. I think that helps. So if you have a passion and it's not where you build a background in, I think the networking thing is the best way. So try to build a network with people in the area, or try to build a network with other hotel people, other entrepreneurs. My advice wouldn't necessarily be get more education. My advice would be go to events where you find people with hotels, go to events with entrepreneurs, and that usually, if they see your passion and if they meet you in person and hear you talk, and then usually works a lot better than the big resume.
Clear narrative. You need a clear narrative to really show why you are taking this path. So that helps as well. Networking is important, I think. What I've discovered late, but you also need your story, you know, to really get through to people.
I don't want, can I hate posting stuff on. I'm also Peruvian, by the way. But
Yes, like,
I'm not a person that posts on social media, so reaching out and creating a social media presence for me is very difficult. However, when it comes to finding the next job, I also was pivoting from supply chain tech to games. There's nothing in the middle there. So what I did is I reached out with to people that were doing the job I wanted to do. And I just talked to, I remember I wanted to become a producer. I thought, I'm going to be a producer. That's the guy that orchestrates what's happening in game creation. And I thought I was a PM, I can make the job. But then after talking with 4 of them, and how I did that is I literally just message, I see you're a producer at this company. I love video games. I see you, I will look at their career and see if I see you, I notice you pivoted in the past, tech to games, how do you do that? So something that catches the eye of the person to give you an opportunity rather than, hey, I think we should connect. And then I would say 7 out of 10 times people came back and gave me a chance. And through that, without having to many posts or many things, I actually built a small network. That's how I actually figured out that I will not get that job. And then I switched, and then I found my calling, which was more about the data, market insights. That was a better place for me. So I mean, I love games, but I love business too. And that for me was the sweet spot. But I wouldn't find that out unless I would network in that way, I guess. That for me worked. It's definitely slow cook. You know, you slow cook that. So you gotta, I mean, at least it worked for me. I think it's a good way. I never turn down an opportunity. Someone comes to me with that story, I always have time to go.
Yeah, I also have something. In that work of ESA, I had to hire people. And once we had a department when we needed a little bit of finance accounting in the profile and a little bit of IT. And we had lots of IT people with a little bit of business. And we needed somebody with the opposite, a little bit more accounting and less IT. And I hired a guy who was an accountant. And you know how the IT, he did it? It was his hobby. He had a server at home. So, and I was the only one who believed in him, and I hired him. And afterwards, years later, he told me, you don't know, Blanca, how long it took me to find this job, because nobody will believe in me. So my story is twofold, is that maybe you can show in your CV. You can do some experience as a hobby. You can host dinners, or you can organize events that are just a weekend, that you get into hospitality with not that much time. And don't lose hope. It can take just one hiring manager. Don't lose hope. And if you do those steps, it has to happen.
Yeah, and it's also about attitudes. I hear you say, how can I convince somebody? Don't focus on other people, focus on yourself. What can you offer? What problem can you solve? That's one thing. And the second thing, and I'm also still learning about that, is stop with limiting beliefs. You say, it is like this, it is like that. We and many other people can give you examples of guys like you who did completely something else. A colleague of mine, or not a colleague, a student, MBA, he's now one of the top 50 in ASML. The guy was a lawyer, and he moved into sales.
Yeah.
So stop with the limiting beliefs. If you have proof that other people did it, you can do it too.
Yeah.
And that sounds very American. So look at yourself and dream. And the €7, it's a brilliant example too. Everything is possible within limits, but stop with the limiting.
I would like to add one story to that, not a personal story, but I knew one colleague here at RSM, and her entire life was about art. She loved films, and she was working upstairs as a program manager for the MBA program. And one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation is, if you're going to pivot your career, you need to embody the person you want to become, right? And a lot of times that embodiment of that person needs to come first with a humbling. That means that I want to start low. Doesn't matter how low I can start. So for example, in your case, you're mentioning, I have a family, I have responsibilities, I need to have salary to keep them up. So what this person did as the program manager upstairs was that she started volunteering to the International Film Festival here in Rotterdam in the most menial jobs that you can imagine, pulling cables, picking up chairs. Then they started promoting her within this volunteer job that she had because she kept coming back every year. And then she was organizing events, red carpet events at film festivals here in IFFR. And one day Netflix had a vacancy for someone that wanted to organize film festivals here in Rotterdam. And even if her job title was program manager, MBA programs at RSM, she could demonstrate in her CV I already have all this experience. I organize this event. If you want some referrals, you can contact these two that work in IFFR. So of course, it's not something that happens and like a light switch, right? Like you don't go and say like, okay, now I'm going to be a video game expert like Diego, right? Or doing a switch within PwC. There's a lot of conversations that need to happen first. And finding mentors, like you said, finding the network is super important. How many of you guys know about RSM Mentor Me? Beautiful. That's a pot of gold.
So I ask if they use it.
Yeah, do you use it next? So also alumni can use it to talk with other alumni. And it's a real pot of gold. Like people are.
That's a good question, because I think a lot of students use it, but I think alumni necessarily on their belly. But I totally agree that within alumni, there's a lot of opportunities. This is a network. I mean, every alumni here is of course open to help other alumni. So you don't need LinkedIn. Yeah, good education here, and I think all these people here are very well willing to help you step forward.
I know I underutilize it. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
I also read like I know about it. Very used it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm not using it now. I could probably be using it to see if there's one I could learn from.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Who else has a story that they would like to share?
I'm wondering, like, actually, whenever I'm talking to a company for a case conversation, I'm always wondering, how is the company? Is it healthy? Are they good with their people? And they are always promoting it. We will, if you need something like curses, we will provide you. And when you're at the company, it gets difficult. But before you come, they almost promise you everything. So I was wondering, how do you know the truth? Like what it really is like, so you can prepare if I really want to make this choice or not, because that's what I'm looking for. I want a healthy company, nice people, and also opportunities to grow.
What I did is when I applied, I wanted also to talk to some of the team members that I would be part of the team.
Yeah,
and those were, well, PwC, it's like a pyramid. So I would talk to the associates when I started, and they are quite forward, and they say how it is, and that gives you a really good picture of how the culture is within the company and within a team actually, because PwC is so big, it's like there's a different culture everywhere. But I really recommend talking to some of the people in the team where you will be short.
It has helped me to ask the manager to what you don't like of working here.
okay.
That could also a lot.
Nice. And what do they say usually when you ask that question?
I think in the nonverbal communication, you can get a lot.
That should be good.
Yeah, I think the best tip is, I think, talk to people. But it's also very possible to say, okay, can I do like a internship day? So if you really like an employee, or if you're doubting between two, I think a lot of companies are open if you just on for a day. So that's not a crazy question either. You start with the basics, trying to see the origin story of a company, vision, and there's a lot of marketing prep in there, but there's also usually some truth in there.
Yeah.
But if you want to get to the core, it's talking to the people and trying to get in. And even without the job, most companies are open to have a lunch at least, or coffee, or maybe even a whole day to tag along.
And it's life, people lie, so you're always going to encounter companies that promise you something and won't give you. And that's why learn to trust your gut feel and try to stay open. And if you feel it doesn't feel right, then it probably doesn't feel right, whether it's true or not. So that helped me a lot in evaluating people, and maybe you make the wrong choice that it was a great company, but at the same time you'll find something else then.
I would like maybe to add a little bit to that because that touches home very, very close. My first career pivot after being an alumni manager here at RSM was to a company where an alumni referred me. The interviews went fantastic, and like the team was super open and welcoming and whatever, the whole 9 yards. And I think a month after I joined the company, the manager that had hired me was demoted publicly in a call with her entire team, like very unceremoniously saying like, this is going to be your new manager, while she was there, like my manager was there, and she didn't have any idea that was going to happen. So you can imagine, like, okay, first red flag that I see already in this role. And of course, like once you are in there, you can see that the company culture might not be a match of what you wanted to land in. So I would reverse that thing. Instead of saying like, how can I make sure that the team that I'm going to land in is a fantastic team? I would say like, how do I make sure that if that happens, I'm ready to just say like, no, thank you, and move on to the next one. So for example, this job, I think like by the 7th month, I was totally miserable, burned out, super, like I think even my colleagues here saw me, like I came to a couple of panels for other things and they were like, oh man, you look so stressed, what's going on? Like, are you tired? Like your eyebacks are massive. And I was like, yeah, you don't say. But I had the ability to quit. And I think like 3 weeks later, I had a job back here at RSM in a different position because people knew me. I was always looking around, trying to see how I could help people. And the thing just came back. Like my CV was in order. I had the, like my brag book ready with all the accomplishments that I had in my roles. So it was another role that I never did, but at the same time, they accepted me because I brought something to the table that they could relate.
But you're saying that's a difficult choice. It's not like good. Go.
One more addition to this question is there's multiple levers you can turn that makes work worthwhile. You have the big names, it's a McKinsey or a Nike or a Netflix, people get excited, but I think what's even more important is do you do work that you're good at and you're still developing and learning? Of course, the people, your manager, your co-workers are a very big aspect, I think, in having fun at work and making it worthwhile. So there's multiple levers that can make work worthwhile. And I think you should not have the illusion that it's all A+. So if one of these levers is maybe less like you expected, there's still some other levers that you should be able to work on that make it worthwhile. And I think you need some flexibility there too. And so it's good to be critical on where you start, but you can also be sure that not everything is going to be perfect. So if there's a couple levers not in order, don't focus on that and focus on your influence circle, which you can make work for yourself, and then maybe at the next pivot something else is better.
Yeah, you would always focus on your own well-being. If you don't feel good, you don't, because it's not worth it, right? It's only work. And it's nice to be ambitious, and I've been super ambitious, but I've discovered that if you have a nice people around you that really support you, that believe in you, that is so much more important than, I think, work that you do actually. Sometimes, so make sure that you feel well.
There's a question there in the back.
I want to add something because I've also been in this situation many times, but I would advise before you leave the company, make sure that you know exactly why you are leaving, because in the next interview they will ask you, why did you leave this company? And especially if it's a short time. So if you're leaving in a couple of months or within a year or 2 years, you need a good story. And if you just leave and you tell the next company I had a bad feeling, then they will probably think, okay, they will also leave this job. So stay. I'm not saying you should stay till you get like depressed, but make sure you understand why you're leaving and set expectations in the next interview that this is not the kind of company you would like to work for. Because I think in interviews, you also have to be very clear what you're expecting from the company.
I was gonna add to that point. For me, it was also difficult to leave a very. I hope no one here works at Oracle. I love Oracle. Gave me a great opportunity there, but
The camera is there.
I did switch. I took a chance to go to a scale up, and Oracle. I'm on a highly skilled migrant visa. I'm Peruvian. I don't know if this resonates with everyone, but it wasn't easy for me to take that call, to go from that to scale up, and then try it out. It looked very fun. It ticked a lot of boxes, but I second that. You mentioned as well. You need to know what you're gonna get out of this. So if the team is not great, it's not on you. There's no way to know. And by the way, it doesn't hurt to ask if you can have a team chat. Every time that I hire, I actually ask the person to have a call or come to the office, so I see how it interacts with the team. And a lot of times that has led to a no, didn't click. So the other side is also very concerned that that the things work. But I'll say, if you make the switch a year after, your team is chaos, you hate it, whatever, you gotta make sure that the move you did, you're getting whatever you wanted out of that. Always, every 3 months, it's am I learning what I wanted to learn? Is this the next step for my next move? And I think as long as you do that, you'll keep saying.
Okay.
I would add something to what Diego mentioned, because I also understand that a lot of us sometimes have other responsibilities besides our job, right? We have to provide for our families. We have a kid at home. We have, different visa issues. You need to keep your third-year visa. You need to keep your work permit to stay in the Netherlands. So in that sense, what we're going to see in a little bit about the checklist is something that really helps bring you that sense of power back. Because I think one of the good lessons that I had was that phrase: if you're going through hell, keep going. Right? It means as long as you feel that you're not in the same spot as you were yesterday and you're a little bit closer to the objective, then it doesn't matter even if today you had a crappy day, but you moved 1 centimeter closer to your goal, it's gonna feel very different at the end of the day. So if we take those actions that I think all of you guys are mentioning, plus having a little bit of preparedness and empowerment, that gives a lot of runway to try out things.
And as I'm in my position now, freelance solves a lot of problems too. In terms of career, that if you move a lot of times, then it's bad for your resume. As a project manager, what I'm doing now, it's just great because I can apply. I said, hey, I did a project for 4 months and I'll move. And if you like it, like I did with McKinsey or with the recruitment firm, you just stay. They will prolong the work if you apply it. And volunteering work is great, but project management, in hospitality, since 2010, I became an independent, and there was not a second, even with the bankruptcy, a second that I thought I'm going to work for a boss. I stayed independent, and what I always tell people that ask, should I do it? In worst case, as a student, I worked at a supermarket. In worst case, I go to the largest supermarket, tell the manager there, I have my own company, I can invoice you, and just let me work. And my company will have money to pay for the food for my 2 daughters. So I'm not saying everybody should become freelance or independent, but it's great for certain things. And then if you don't like it, you just move to another project.
And there's multiple ways to roll, right?
Exactly.
There's not one golden path to the ideal career. It's a bumpy road at times. So it's not always a straight high line. And I think it's cliche, but it's a journey, and you need to discover yourself. You need to discover what you like, what you're good at. So it's always a little bit like this as well. So don't let your head hang down when you're in hell for a while. I mean, you always get out of it, and it usually also helps in getting to know better what you dislike in work. So, I mean, it can be this, and that's fine.
You had impressive stories, all you, sorry about my sore throat. But I have a question. When, according to your experience, is time to avoid getting delusional and move out? So in other ways, when it's time to quit, when you have reached the tipping point, say, okay, although I was thinking up until this point that I was moving forward, was it a real perspective? Was it a delusion?
Your body tells you. When I really wanted to leave ESA, the white of my eyes was yellow. I got my period twice a year. I had pains in my left arm. I fell off the stairs. My body just kept telling me, you're in the wrong place. Some of my friends, they told me that it goes all the way to cancer. It's if your body is starting to tell you no, your best advisor is your body. Headaches are not okay. Stomach aches is not okay. The hair is falling. It's not okay to be on something. No.
How you deal with that dismotivation? Because sometimes if you're in the wrong place, your mind will tell you like,
yes,
ignore it. So just you don't care anymore.
You have to be strategic about it. The first thing is to stop the denial. This is not the place for me. I know my body is telling me, okay, I decided today that I'm going to quit. I cannot quit today emotionally. Let's do the business-like. Just to make an analysis, how much money I have in the bank account, how much I can decrease my cost, how much I can save. Can I start getting customers right now? Because that's what will be my advice. Well, sorry, I am biased. I'm very biased that you should start a business. Start a business. Even if you have another corporate job, start a side hustle. You can start selling. You can start getting money. And you save money and you start your strategy to leave. You start having coffee with people. So just make a decision. I want to quit. What do I need to do to actually present my resignation? I need to improve my health. I need to improve my bank account. Maybe I can create another stream of income. Maybe that's what we're talking about now, building a hobby, building a network, all those things. You can do them while you're employed. And plan B.
I have a question for you, actually. Yeah, because for me, it was always difficult I thought if I would be doing something else, like for example, I'll take a course on the side to start preparing for the job that I wanted to do. I always found myself like, I'm not performing at my role. And for me, it's very important to be very good at what I'm doing. So I always thought in that way, it was very difficult for me to pivot unless I had to force my future role into my current role always. So how do you know the moment that you're like, I don't care enough to, this is my job and I'm going to start building the future as your side? Because that does imply that you leave, you stop focusing on your job, and it's like slowly you're not a top performer, whether you want it or not, right? So you gotta actually like comprehend it and digest that and say like,
well, definitely talking about myself, in the last months or even the last year, I was not a top performer. I hated my job. Okay. I just was hating it. I couldn't reply to the emails. I had almost like allergy. And I needed to work on my health. So for me, it was to start exercising, to start eating better. And as I started to learn about personal development, I started, because I was a manager, I started coaching my staff, I started helping my staff. So I started become a better manager. So I think if you don't love your job, you are not performing by definition.
Yeah, so if I can comment on your experience, I would say you took it a little bit too far. I would say the moment you drive into work and you feel like you don't want to be at work, just start applying at new jobs, search for the opportunities and take conversations with other people, because you're already halfway out the moment you drive to work and you don't want to be there. And I think a lot of people are just coping, and then in the end, coping becomes too big, and then they have to leave, and then you have to take a job or you have to start for yourself. But there's many signs before that, and I would encourage everybody, just stay open for new opportunities, or just shoot with hail on opportunities you see, and conversation never hurts, right? So you can just go to new companies and.
Let me elaborate on that. My case was very existential, was an identity, and I think it's the case of many women.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be the boss, and I was the boss. And then there was no man good enough for me, you know? And earn less than I, they had a worse car than I. And the reality was that I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to have a house. And I can, how am I going to leave this? It's my career. It cost me so many years. So I was like, I don't want to leave, but I want that thing. And I don't want to leave because I want that thing. I can relate to that. Because at that time, my life was beautiful car, champagne in the fridge, wonderful clothes. All my plans were dead. I didn't have that. I just was drunk in the weekends.
That's
a horrible life.
Yeah.
I have a different view on what you just said, though, because, like I said, it's a bumpy road. Life is not always fun every day. And so don't leave your head hanging when you have a tough month or a tough week. I mean, that's part of the deal. I think it also strengthens you, and it gives you build some character, and so of course there's the body. But if you when you're burned out and you get symptoms, then that's a different story. But I mean, having some weeks that are less fun or feel less good is part of the job. I mean, it's life. Life is not always fun and happy days. It's sometimes tough weeks, and yeah.
And what I experienced is when I went to rough spots. That were the periods that I grew the most personally.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was personal growth, and then so my career went like this. Because every time I hit something, and then I had to grow myself, like personal growth, and then whoosh, I went up, and that was only possible through the difficult periods. But if these difficult periods are like way too often, or structurally, you feel a pit in your stomach when you go to work, really, that's not worth it. Mainly if it is related to the people that you work with, I think. Then yeah, I'm very a person that only thrives with people around her that really support, and where you have a real connection with, and yeah, so that's personal. But
what's the advice for when you don't know what's the next step? Like you are like quite okay with the current job, you know, it's not the job of your life, but you don't know what to do next. And for me also what I'm experiencing now is that I want to try so many different things, but then I feel like I don't follow through because I'm like, oh, maybe this is better for me. So what's the advice there?
Luxury problems, right? No, but I think there was a good advice here. Start with a hobby or a side hustle, or you can do some stuff on the sides and try stuff on the sides, and maybe something at some point really pops out or gives you that spark that you're like, hey, I really got to go deeper in this one. So if it's good, it's good. I mean, we're all, I think most of us are privileged to have good resumes and to have choice. I mean, back in the day, we were just drilling all day. We were happy to have a meal by the end of the day, and we're all big papers. We got choices to make, and so as long as it's good, and you can wait till either it becomes too bad you have to leave or something better pops up. But it's not a problem to work somewhere for 5 or 10 years if it's good. I mean, you don't always have to go higher, better, further. I mean, that differs per person. What your goal and what makes you happy.
And if you feel like you're not doing the job that you would like to do, if you don't get out of it what you would like to have, then try out new things.
Yeah.
If you like a lot of things, that's actually good, because then you could try a lot of things. And I'm sure that at one point something clicks and like, oh, yeah, this is it. Yeah, but it's yeah. Not very practical advice, maybe. But
I have an example. Yes.
Oh.
When I made my first switch, I switched from consulting to go-to-market strategy, and I really wanted to learn that part, like the go-to-market part. But the leadership I had at the time was very focused on me doing more the business development side of things, and I didn't find that precisely too engaging for me. Because I came very excited about developing this skill and knowing this market. And so what I did, I don't know if it applies to you, but if you have the flexibility to explore something within your role, I push for that. So I find after 3 months, I sort of like find the gaps in the go-to-market, and I make a case for myself. And I said like, hey, I think we're lacking here. Should probably allocate more of my time doing this. So I really think it should be a goal of mine to pursue this. And then it was in my KPIs, and then you're golden. You're chasing something that you're building towards. But I mean, that's a way. So for example, if you're in HR and you want to do marketing, that's very difficult to like include it in your goals and your career path. That being said, within the company, like I agree, you can try side projects. You can have a friend of mine that works in experiment, loves AI and events. And on the free time at the role, she found out that there were opportunities to host AI sessions for the team. Like she just checked with the manager, like the leadership, like, is there a space for this? And I'm like, oh, we should know about this. And now she's like doing it as a side thing. And that is opening new doors. So I think that's also very useful. And sometimes it feels like it's very overwhelming to try to do, it's like adding more to your current job. At least that felt like that for me. It's always like, I'm very allocated to, like very dedicated to my job. Now I gotta do more. It always feels tough, and that's how I deal with it. I always try to bring it into my job. So it makes sense, and I just push one direction.
I have a good example about that as well. Has anyone heard about the monkeys analogy? This happened to me this week. My director basically was complaining in a meeting that upper management had given him so many new tasks, and they were like these monkeys on his back that were all the time annoying him. And I was like, okay, what are those monkeys? Like, what monkey can I take off of you? And then he came up with like, yeah, they just told me this AI project precisely where we need to see how we can reduce the time to evaluate potential investments in the organization. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. It's just added to my KPIs. They are super thankful that I decided to take on the project. And I mean, that's also gets noticed, right? Because a lot of us, when we are, even if we're managers or individual contributors, we are a little bit like the forest that falls in the the tree that falls in the empty forest, right? Where might be doing our work super well, but who in the organization knows that? How do you make sure that you are making noise when you're putting your work in the organization? That the only way is to reach out outside of the borders of your team and trying to find where did the company has abdicated some responsibility, because there's always somewhere in the company that needs improvement. And if you identify that and say like, hey, I can get that monkey up your back, they will be the most happy, grateful people that you can imagine, and they will start bringing you to different points.
I think I have also like a bias for myself because I work in sales, and I feel like in sales, my manager just want me to bring the revenue kind of. So I also try to have a discussion with her if I can involve in a little bit different things, but I feel like for them it's really I need to bring the revenue in. So I'm also struggling a bit in that sense, how much I can push asking more. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I have the case of a student that was a finance and investment student here. And in 2021, crypto was all the rage, and he was super passionate about crypto projects and all this thing. But he worked in Oliver Wyman, and he needed to bring revenue, bring clients, precisely like working his projects. He asked his manager, and it was like, no, you need to focus on your own thing. And he came to me and mentored me in the platform, and I basically told him the thing that he saw that was needed in the company. And he said, well, I do think like crypto could revolutionize, tokenization could revolutionize the models that we operate, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, have you told anyone besides your manager? And he was like, no. And then I told him like, okay, cool. Which team in the company could oversee a project related to crypto? And then he reached out to them, and he started very simple with a newsletter, basically researching about all the cryptos that he liked, if they were investment cases for the company or use cases that were valuable for Oliver Wyman. And at some point, I think the CEO noticed, and they started like this little division of crypto assets within that company. So it came out of saying like, hey, I have something valuable over here. Like maybe my manager doesn't appreciate it or is worried, because it's understandable. They're worried that your performance might go down in the revenue, and that affects their KPIs, right? But if you show that you can handle it, and there are people that are interested in the other values that you bring to the organization, they would be crazy not to take them.
Thank you.
How you deal with time management when you wanted to do this transition from one job to another? Because doing networking, contacting persons to mentor you, searching for new jobs, searching for clients, trying to figure out how you will survive. You quit your job and open a consultancy office and everything. How you deal with that in your experience?
Yeah. I guess the question needs to be, make sure I can start. I try to make it part of the within my role and within the realm of possibilities of that role, because you gotta perform at the levels, otherwise you're out of the job. And so I guess for me it was patience, and patience because I had my job to create the space to the next step of what I wanted. And
people water was here.
And then you try to make as much as possible part of what you're doing in your day-to-day. I wasn't on LinkedIn all the time, and I took the opportunities when they come. You keep an eye. Like for example, the company where I'm with right now, I spoke to them 10 years ago. I interviewed with them 2 years ago for a role that wasn't even, it wasn't a match. I just wanted to talk to them. That's it. So I did. And then later on, they actually called me. So if you have the patience and you're not at a place you hate, you gotta do little steps. I'm probably not the most exciting right now, news right now for you. If you want to switch right now, my case was a little slow, but you get small wins out of this, like building my small network. I had a mentor who gave me great advice when I had to do my first switch. And yeah, and slowly but surely, you create this network that you can reach out to.
Kind of the magic word. Feel like you need time to pivot. You need time to explore what you like, and if you know, then you need time to really read up on what is going on in that area. You need time to drink a lot of coffees, to go to some events that you can meet the people that might be important in your visit. So it takes time, I think. It's not something that you can do overnight.
I want to build on that patience thing. Because right now in the situation running out of the patience, but it's not which I recently pivoted 2 years ago while doing MBA from IT delivery to IT sales. I like it, the content is good. But when I look at around in the organization, others are getting financial rewards. And I've been like, oh, next time. Every time is the next time. So how do you really accelerate that particular goals and not to run out of the patience, looking outside? What other things you can really do to make it that you are also not in the forest, one of the tree in the forest, but to really get visibility and say like, oh yes, this guy is doing good, he's doing okay, the star of the time to elevate him.
So one thing that I learned from a TikTok of all places was fancy, right? But I really discovered this really useful thing, which was to keep a brag folder. Like whenever you do something that brings value to someone in the organization or a client, you have your Excel sheet, say 6th of June, 2024. This client, I introduced this potential client or this business lead to the business development team. Story, right? So when the time when you have to have those performance conversation comes, pull out the whole list of examples that you built the entire year. And you can say like, I want to have a conversation about my bonus. This is the extra that I built on top of the KPIs that we did here, because a lot of times, let's face it, like when you have this conversation on OKRs and KPIs at the end of the year, it's like, how do you feel that your year went? Your manager asked me, like, because they are not on top of everything that you're contributing or whatever. And I think I did okay. I mean, we reached out all the main targets, that probably I revised like 30 minutes before the meeting. But if you actually have a brag sheet and do the benefit with that particular action, and you can show it and link it.
You can even brag on a weekly. I mean, just send them your success of the week. I mean, you don't have to wait till just evaluate every week. What was your biggest success? Send them like this was or our team or whatever, but just be accessible. And it can be small stuff. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking records. I'm sure you do something good every week. Pick the top 3 and share it.
Reciprocity, I think, is also super important, right? Because I think we're focusing a lot of the conversation of what can I get out of this kind of actions that we're doing. For example, one of the things that always helps and create a great atmosphere in teams is when you are actually uplifting your teammates. You're saying, hey, by the way, Blanca did a great presentation today. Did you know, like we tell her boss, hey, did you know that Blanca did a great presentation today about the quarterly review or whatever? Blanca is gonna be like, oh, that feels so nice. One, the time to compliment the work. Someone noticed, they told it to my boss, and very for sure, at some point when you do something positive, Blanca is going to be your brand ambassador, so to speak, the next time, right? So it's also like kind of paying forward what you want to see in your own career.
And at the same time, also be brutally honest with yourself. I mean, it's possible that your manager is somebody that doesn't want to give you financial rewards, but ask yourself the question: what did the other people that got it did that you maybe did not? And I'm not saying you didn't do everything, but the conclusion for me, if I would do the introspection and I did everything right, everything, and even went the extra mile, and then it's the story about the company culture that's just not for you, and then you need to look elsewhere. But too many people with my current client, I've just seen with a business controller, she in her head, she was really convinced that she had to become the next CFO. She got a burnout, unfortunately, for 3 months, came back, and the 2-hour conversation, which I was part of, the words, my problem or what I could have done better in those 2 hours, not a word, not a sentence. It was all the fault of everybody else. And so that's what I've seen with a lot of people. And the good thing is that often the solution is there. If you know, oh, I could have done this better, or I like to evolve in that aspect, chances are that the reward will follow.
Thank you.
But that's step one.
I think we have another 15 minutes, guys. So I was talking to you about a checklist. How do you start embodying this person that you want to become or to pivot your career? So maybe we can go into the pivoting your career. There is a checklist.
The Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail. So I think Thomas made a very good point, right? Like, what makes this whole changing your careers very humbling is that you really have to put yourself in front of the mirrors and be honest with yourself and address your shortcomings. Finding those shortcomings, because otherwise it's the same person going to a different and putting on a different hat.
And your good points too.
Yeah, right. And the good points. So at this moment, for example, you were mentioning, okay, I needed to take courses, etc., etc. So what are these skills between the current you and the person that you want to become? And if you don't have them, it's also very, I would say, even dishonest in a way, trying to apply for jobs where you don't have the skills and you're like, I'm going to wing it and let's see, what happens. Number two, this was a really recent humbling thing that I got, how is your CV really? One of the things that I did after PlayStation is that I maintained my network of recruiters in the video game industry. And on LinkedIn, I saw that one of them was saying like, I can review your CV in 30 minutes, for $15 or something like that, because he wanted to help people that were looking for jobs in the video game industry. And I was like, I did like the CV exactly how the career center told me, and I did the STAR method, and like my achievements, and everything is super fabulous. Let's see what this guy says about my CV. I hop in the call with him, and he completely destroyed the thing. And it was the Harvard model with the STAR method, and like experience first and putting your language skills and whatever. And he told me very frankly, I'm a hiring recruiter. I'm seeing your CV, but I don't know what you want. So, okay, you did these fabulous things in Rotterdam School of Management, or you did these fabulous things at 09. How does that relate to me? Like, and do what I have to offer you matches what you want? Like, why are you not expressing it in the CV? So one of the biggest lessons was your headline is the most important real estate in the entire CV. If you don't say that you're looking for hybrid, remote, or on-site roles, I'm not looking at the CV. If you're not saying if you have a visa or a work permit to work in the location, I'm not looking at your CV. If you're not saying program manager looking for an opportunity in X, Y, and Z, looking to leverage skills like I don't know what you can help me with, so I'm not looking at your CV. So it was a really, really brutal feedback session where I was like, super, all right, I hear always talk to the career center. They know we have a call about CV trends, but they are constantly changing because they have these ATS systems and they have, 30 different ways to scan hundreds of CVs in a little bit. So I would really put a little emphasis on that, like trying to think that everything that you're putting out is a product, but you have to communicate to the other person, how is that product helping me, right? You might have a great electric car, but maybe I'm it's a 2-seater, but maybe I have a family of 5 people, and you know that, so I don't know that, even though it's a great car, not for me, because it only has 2 seats. So that's the second one. I can also pass you the contact of the guy. I think it's a really cool CV reviewer. So if you will help me on LinkedIn later, I can pass it to you. Social skills. I think a lot of us already mentioned that networking is like all the way up here when it comes to pivoting your career. But it's not only networking in events and career fairs and this kind of thing, but also learning to network inside your company, right? Like, are you really talking to other people that might need help on your organization? Do you really know the strategy and the KPIs of other units in your organization and how you can contribute to those from your current position? Any of the key that you guys might have about social skills? Everything for something.
I think social skills is not something that really learned, in the sense that some people are naturally easier talkers, more social, more extroverts, so they're comfortable being social. And I think there's also a lot of people that struggle with being social. That's not a problem. Only for you, it's more work to start that conversation and to feel confident and feel yourself when having this conversation. But like everything else in life, practice makes perfect. Eh? So although it's hard and you struggle with it, start with it. If it's hard to do it in person, start with a video call or with a normal old school call. Just find ways to get the conversation started. And there's multiple ways to get a conversation started. So yes, of course, all the industry events are great, but even when you're out in a restaurant or at a bar, and start small steps. It doesn't have to be the big networking events. You struggle with having a conversation. There's multiple ways.
You meet the most important people sometimes super random. So just be interested in someone you talk to and find kind of the mutual ground where you have certain things that you really connect with, and don't expect anything from it. Just talk, and that's it.
Yeah, because then the resume doesn't matter, right? It's also, I think, what I tried to say in the beginning with your hotel lawyer pivot. I mean, if it's truly a passion and you randomly talk to someone about this passion or hobby or whatever, people notice it, people see it, and you might not even notice it yourself, but if you talk about something that you really care about or feel about, you start to become more natural and enthusiastic, and people see that spark, and that's why it helps to have more ways of communicating with people, because at some point people will get on that spark and hopefully set you up the right way.
And also, I think maybe to add to that, it's also understanding what is a recruiter trying to achieve when they are recruiting people, right? Because they have the incentive to lower the risk for the company as much as they can, right? So if they are going to bet on a person that doesn't have any skills in the area, they're going to be like, okay, it's a high risk. I'm not going to put my company onto that, because their KPIs, for example, are onboarding costs, the time that the turnover rate in the company. So maybe this person is not really fit or doesn't know what the work entails. They're going to get bored if they give them a chance, or they are not going to like it and they will leave. So all these networking and event opportunities are really about putting yourself like, how do I look less risky to be hiring people in the company? And if you overcome that, then 90% of the job is already done.
I would also just add with the networking, I think most of the time someone isn't going to refer you or take that interview or hire you because of your skill set. It's probably because they trust you, because they see something in you. So when it comes to networking, I would go with something you're super passionate about, not even career related. In my last company, we just started a food club because I like to drink wine and eat food. That's how I built all my connections there. It was a space I felt confident in. It was a space that was away from work. It took all the pressure off. So I would almost go the other route altogether.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, and she's an expert, huh? She's in the career center here in
That's easy.
I have 5 minutes. I'll get to a quick wrap up as well.
Yeah, so quick wrap up. Also, I mean, Diego already mentioned it a while ago. Are you really commenting on LinkedIn enough? Like I do networking trainings for students sometimes here at RSM in Star Management, and I do a LinkedIn check live. I'm like, okay, guys, you say that you're posting on LinkedIn. Who opens their LinkedIn profile and see when is the last time that they posted or commented or did something on that network, right? So the last job that I got, it was literally Bruno leaving a link to the job position. I mean, writing the hiring manager 2 weeks later.
It was a shared post.
Number 4, I think maybe it's something that a lot of the panelists can relate as well. I mean, Diego, when he said like he wanted to become a producer, right? Like never be so fixed on one outcome that you wouldn't take something better if it came along. So don't be super inflexible in like, oh, I want to be in video games and I have to be a producer, and maybe the opportunity takes the way of data analytics. And for example, for Diego, it's a great place to work. He got a promotion, right?
Yeah, also the budget. I had 3 months to get a job. So at that time, it was a little bit also like be realistic. You have to balance, right? You're not always gonna win like this. So you have to wager.
And Diego brought an excellent point again, which is like he had to leave, right? A lot of us are not in that luxury position of saying, I'm quitting exactly today. So if you have to leave your job because it's killing you and you're absolutely hating every minute that you spend in there, this is already a checklist that you can take. So you can take screenshots, photographs, whatever you want. This touches on what Blanca mentioned already, right? So living expenses, minimum 6 months at your current level of spending, because you're not going to find the job tomorrow or in 3 months. If you quit on May, the whole summer is gone before you know it, and they start hiring back in September. So you need to really use these things to have that leverage to say that either something changes in my current job, and I can have the ability to tell my manager to go screw himself or herself. They don't change something, because no negotiation works if you don't have the power to walk away.
These lists are great guidelines. Like doesn't always work like this, right? I mean, LinkedIn post great, but if LinkedIn goes bankrupt tomorrow, what you gonna do then? And of course, these are great guidelines, but life doesn't always work through this. So just be prepared for some bumps on the road. Be flexible, be consistent. Just keep moving forward, and you'll get there.
I would say have this ready, even if you love your job, because you don't know if there's a cut coming, if there's a downturn in the economy, whatever it is. If you have that, then the stress goes out.
What's the lamp list?
The lamp list. So a lot of times people are focused in a couple of companies in their head because we only remember so many brands, right? So a lamp list basically is an acronym. So L is for list, a list of 40 companies in the field where you want to work in. And that includes SMEs, startups, the whole shenanigans. A, second column of the Excel, are there alumni from RSM working in that company that could provide an introduction? And the motivation, how motivated am I to join that company now that I researched it a little bit? And P, positions. Do they have open positions in that company? Yes or no? And then basically that Excel, you just do the yes, no, and the ones that are left at the top after you do the filter, those are your target companies that you need to start actively applying to, so that you don't go crazy applying to 3,000 companies.
Just wanted to add something for the escape plan. I'm in the case that actually I'm in a career break. I'm a tiny bit younger than you are, but after staying at 16 years at the same company, I realized, okay, the strategy is changing. It's not working for me. I did a life-changing trip last year to Antarctica. I came back and I was, okay, you're not doing enough for sustainability. I want to do more. Yeah, it's like I need some sustainable. And then actually, I mean, if you make it, I have to say, it was a challenge for me to do it because of my personality. But I learned as well that if you go for it and if you're open to it and if you're willing to put yourself forward, and you can actually also, in some cases, also negotiate a departure. And I managed to have to negotiate a departure to close the whole thing nicely, but then actually have some help on the way out. And yeah,
great example.
Yeah.
Well, I have to wrap up. We're on time. Thank you so much for this wonderful panel.
Thank you.
I want to be very quick with what's happening next. So there's a 15-minute break. And I'm going to ask you to look at your badges to see which session you've signed up to next, and then go to that room. So either JB 41, it's downstairs, or JB 41. There is also drinks waiting for you there. So go to that one first, and then have a break. Talk to our wonderful guests. And then quickly on the way out. Yeah, just feel free to, you're gonna see throughout the day. Make sure to scan it and see what else is out there. Thank you so much, and see you later.